Hey everybody, glad to have you back here at the Verdigris Table. I am Ryan Doyle, and I am helping Dungeon Masters like you run Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, the adventure inside the D&D Starter Set. And in this one, we're getting creepy with it. We're looking at Chapter 3, The Cursed Shipwreck. There are some great moments in this part of the story, and some details that actually kind of bother me. So we're going to go beat by beat to get the most out of this one, provide our players with an awesome experience, and have a lot of fun doing it. I think this chapter is going to run the best and may even end up being your favorite part of this whole adventure if you focus in and lean into the suspense elements. What I see as the problem in this part are things that the player might never realize or even see. When you're running the game, you gain a much better perspective on the story and spend way longer thinking about things than the players probably. So if and when you see something you don't like or you think could be better, awesome, change it. Back in the Dragon's Rest video, we talked about addressing the fact that no one's going to look into the recent shipwreck here, not even the CR13 good-aligned dragon and her troop of kobold followers that call this island home. Watch that if you haven't yet. I also mentioned that it is worth emphasizing that the compass rose is wrecked on rocks and dragon bones, because that's cool. It kind of feels like the book's implying that the dragon's violent death here is the reason for the shipwrecks, but then also it's really the Harpies doing it. Again, the players probably aren't going to worry about it. Maybe you're not worried about it, but I wouldn't get into how there's been centuries of shipwrecks here. I know it's called Stormwreck Isle, but I would just focus in on the two. The one that just happened, just before we got here, which sank quickly and was the source of the zombies on the beach, and the Compass Rose, home to the dark source of these undead. It doesn't add much if there's more wrecks around unless you want to homebrew more underwater hijinks. The pressure and sense of urgency comes from the fact that the Harpies have set up shop here, and this is going to happen again if our heroes don't fix it. I would have actually taken out this other shipwrecks sidebar here and added on another one on the tides. I've mentioned how the tides and the comet are great ways to track and express the passage of time inside the game while reinforcing the themes of the story. The tides made an impact on the approach to Seagrow Caves, but I would also make them relevant here as well. I say the hole in the hold that lets them jump to C9 is easy to spot at low tide, but much more submerged at high tide. I'd leave it as difficult terrain mechanically either way, but I would change the depth of the water in C8 based on the tides as well. Whatever the time and tides, odds are the players are going to climb up and start at C1. And I bet they feel pretty good about getting a bunch of treasure out of that crow's nest first thing, but if they're smart, they'll also realize someone or something might miss it. Among all this gore and debris, I would add some unusually large feathers and give a decent enough Arcana, maybe nature check, to identify these things as coming from a harpy. Now, you might be looking at this whole setup and feel like this place is pretty empty. In these first 7 keyed locations, there's just one pair of zombies in C4 and a little trap in C6. And it would be understandable, especially for a new dungeon master, to think this one's a little boring, but this is all for building tension. It is the first half of a horror movie. The players know something's coming. You know they know something's coming. So each time they open a door and nothing jumps out at them, everybody knows the odds went up that that's actually what's going to happen next time they open a door. I think what might be my favorite location in this, maybe this whole book, is also the shortest in word count, the little jump scare in C5, when the players think the skeleton is animating and it's just a little crab crawling out of an eye socket. Mwah. Lean into this drama, get descriptive with it, add more moments if you can think of them in prep or you see opportunities in play. If they drop the wheel, you better believe something is pounding on the door to C4, but I would have any loud noise made on deck spark that same reaction. The players have fought zombies before, but this time we're doing it in very close quarters. The players might learn some new tactical considerations in this fight, maybe even the hard way. You can move through through an ally space, but you can't share it. This is true for the monsters too, so the players could be using this choke point to their advantage as well. Something else I really like about this whole map is that it's three-dimensional. The hole in the captain's quarters goes down to the lower deck and through that to the hold. They could peer down from C4 and maybe get eyes on that ghoul waiting, hiding below, if they have light, of course. This also means the ghoul will likely see them seeing it. I'd even let them go through the hole, though they can only fit one at a time, and this adds even more player choice, as they can move through this place in multiple different ways. When you are building your own dungeons in the future, remember that more possible paths lead to more possible decisions and more interesting gameplay. In this chapter, they could swim down to get to the hold, grab the Talisman to Orcus and the sweet boots of Elvenkind, and hightail it out of here. I'd have the Harpy, or Harpies, if they're second level, get back just as their heroes are about to leave, of course, but they could drop the Harpies, bring this evil hairball to Renara, and that could be it. Or they could scour every room and get all the sweet, sweet treasure in the lower decks as well. It'll go faster if they bought a crowbar off of Mila, but still, there's a lot of good stuff in those crates. If and when they go to C8 though, first they have to fight the ghoul down there, plus the zombie, or 3 zombies if they've already gone to Seagrove Cave. Now the book tells us the ghoul is smart, which I really like. What I don't like is it also says it's totally unrelated to what's happening here. It just kind of was like attracted to the vibes, and that's fine, I guess, but I think it's more interesting if you stick a captain's hat on this guy, or maybe give him the long black braids of Althea. Just think about it. I keep feeling the need to say not everything has to make perfect sense in your game, because, well, I feel the need to make it make sense in mine. I always look for ways to reinforce and emphasize the story, and this one is a doozy. The doomed lover tragically beseeching to be reunited with their just-out-of-reach partner with her final breaths, only that god she's beseeching is Orcus, the demon lord of the undead. We'll talk about where to take things once you finish this box at the end of this series, but I am just going to highlight here that I had a lot of fun running Ghosts of Saltmarsh a while back, and as the pretty much only officially nautically centered campaign in 5e, it's an obvious contender for a follow-up to Stormwreck Isle. I'm not going to go too far into it here, but know that Orcus is a big feature in that, and it's easy to make him an even bigger feature. That's what I did. Surprisingly, there's a lack of Orcus in Out of the Abyss, though you could swap him in for one of the other demon lords in there. And I also think just heading to Phandalin after Stormwreck Isle is a pretty solid option too. But again, this is a conversation for a later video. Here, now, once they've read the captain's log in the treasure chest and figured out that this talisman is the problem, they might think they're done, especially if they've gone top down and cleared every other space on the ship. And it is at that moment when the Harpies return. Or maybe it's the moment where they decide to take a little nap and try to heal up on this ghost ship. If the characters are level 2 and there are 2 Harpies, keep in mind that saving on one's luring song does not mean they are immune to the effects of the other Harpy's voice. Also, the reason the Harpies are trying to get charmed victims to climb the mast is likely that they want to throw them from the crow's nest, where they will take 5d6 damage after falling 50 feet to the deck below. Once again, speaking of thinking outside the grid and utilizing 3 dimensions, these monsters can fly. This can make them very annoying, not to mention challenging, even if everybody does make their wisdom saves here. I would have these Harpies yelling at the characters, perhaps about stealing all their shiny baubles if that's what went down, and this lets the players know that talking is maybe an option here. I also like the potential for the Harpies to flee in order to save their lives if they think they're going to lose this one. The undead don't care, but most other types of creatures are going to think twice before fighting to the death. It makes the world feel real and shows the players they have options beyond getting everything to 0 HP, and it gives you the chance for those monsters to come back. Take note, literally, anytime there's an opportunity for a recurring villain. Maybe they're a random encounter later, or a major story beat, or even just like a gag. You might not get that many of these, and they can be really great. Before or after they defeat the Harpies, the players are probably going to decide to destroy this talisman here and now. But they also might just throw it in the ocean. They probably won't, so don't worry too much about it yet. But if they do, you get to imagine what that would mean. Undead don't need oxygen, and that applies to underwater creatures as well, right? So undead merfolk, anybody? Ghost sharks? Zombie Sahagwin? The book assumes, probably correctly, that if they do not destroy this thing, they bring it back to Dragon's Rest with them and ask Elder Runara about it. The journal also has a pretty big clue that Runara is a dragon, but even if they don't pick up on that, she will reveal her true form to the characters once they've completed the Cursed Shipwreck and the Seagrow Caves. Maybe there's like this big celebratory dinner, the kobolds are asking a bunch of questions and let our heroes tell some tales, perhaps with embellishment, and then we are teeing up the final phase of this adventure, the Clifftop Observatory. And that's what we'll cover in the next video. I hope so much to see you there. Until then, please like, subscribe, be kind, and have fun.